So let's take some deep breaths in. We are here. We're in the next hour. So, Michelle, welcome in, my friend.
Thank you so very much, Rhonda.
Oh, I'm so happy for you to be here. We have, Michelle, we've been covering some really awesome stuff, and I am so excited that you are here. And the reason why, the Fresh Inspiration Show, let me share with you the reason why I got you here pinned also, Michelle, so I can see your beautiful face. So I got an opportunity to connect with Michelle. Now, the first thing I did before I even connected with her was that I like to have conversation, and I don't even know where it's going to go sometimes. And I saw this beautiful conversation she was having that I think was a couple of years ago. And excuse me, I noticed my video is going slow, but I hope my vocals are just clean and coming to you. So I saw Michelle hold this space in a way that almost she was talking to me. And it gave me a moment to take a break in my day and really hear the things that she was talking about. And I love that she loves to roar because us women, oh my gosh, when we start feeling the space of like, yes, like that, oh, because the roaring is like you're open, you're ready, your chest is up in this beautiful way. And I notice us women with having breasts, sometimes we're walking this way or we're kind of hiding ourselves. So what Michelle was giving me the opportunity to do was like, hey, I was kind of rounded. What was going on in those moments? And she helped me become present. So then I had to see Michelle a little bit more. So I went to more of her social media and I saw this beautiful TED talk that she did. Oh, I loved everything she said. And it empowered me even more to be able to get into my heart because I love heart stuff. So, guess what? She talks about math around heart. So, heart math, like it's logical because sometimes that heart math is everything we need to understand how to even get in that heart. So I want to know more about that. So Michelle is going to be talking about the roar and the heart math. And there's a story that Michelle, I hope you share, which I bet you're ready to anyway, because it's something so big. We got an opportunity to talk. It was about about you breaking your back, what it was to be in that space. And I would love to know about the tools and whatever you want to flow that we have our time with. So, welcome in, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity.
My friend, how are you doing today?
Today's a beautiful day. It's wonderful.
Mm, thank you. So, this is going to be kind of like a playful thing. So, we're going to play with this. But to start off, share with me like about share with me a bit about you so we get to know more just about your heart and where you're coming from. And yeah, I'd love to hear that, my friend.
Sure. So it was, as I was growing up, I had an extremely difficult life. Just basically anything that horrible that you could do, one person could do to another person, they did to me. So I really had a traumatic childhood, and I didn't I didn't know how to survive. I felt like I was like trapped in this glass box somewhere, and I'm watching people go by, and they're functioning, they're having a life, they're being successful at the things that they were trying to accomplish, and I'm sitting there going like, you're a smart person, why can't you get from here, can't get there? And so I began to realize that instead of looking for happiness out there, happiness had to come from in here somewhere. And it couldn't because of all the trauma that I had stuffed in my body, because that was the way that I dealt with my trauma, was to dissociate, which is where you go somewhere else and you're not in there. So your body can be absolutely functioning completely, but you're not there. You're being run by your reptilian brain, which is at the back of your head. And it's not a way to live a life. And my life was so painful that I had to begin to find ways to heal my own hurt, it just hurt to be me. And so I began this journey of searching for ways to heal myself. And somewhere along the way, I mean, that took me a very, very long time, because I started when I was in my early 20s. And this is not a confession of how old I am today. I'm not telling anybody, but it's been a long journey. So, but somewhere along the way, I discovered that there are things that work for me that don't work for other people, and vice versa. There are things like modalities or something like healing modalities. Some things work for me, some things don't. And the same thing is for you. There are things somebody else can swear by it. They can go, oh, this absolutely works for me. And you try it and it does nothing to help you be able to overcome whatever your own issues are. So rather than giving up, just keep trying, because there are so many modalities out there. But I discovered for myself the ones that work consistently for me, and also consistently for other people. And so I started sharing that with friends in the beginning. And I have become certified in so many things. If I were to give you a list of things I'm certified in, it would take all day, because I am constantly learning, constantly trying to improve my skills, because I discovered that, first of all, the most important thing you can have when healing is a guide, somebody to help you through it, because you're very, very good at protecting yourself. That is your subconscious brain's purpose, is to protect you. And so you put all of these barriers in place, and then you think, okay, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try to heal myself, but you can't, because you can't get past those barriers. But when you work with a coach or a guide, they don't have those barriers. They're your barriers, and they can kind of walk around them and find new ways to get in there so that you can heal. So along the way, I developed a program which is called Roar to Win. And that's that's the title of the TEDx talk that I gave in Wilmington, Delaware in 2018. And that's what Rhonda was making reference to about roaring. It's ROAR, to win. That's an acronym, which means resilience, optimism, accountability, and resourcefulness. And so how does that help you? What does that help? I mean, sure, everybody wants to, we talk about resilience. It's one of those words that we toss around all the time, but what exactly does that mean? Well, I want you to just kind of practice this, and it may sound really weird, and it is kind of weird, but it really is fun, is where you just kind of, put your shoulders back, because as Rhonda said, we kind of roll forward to protect ourselves, because this is where our heart lives. And so we want to protect our heart. So we put as much barrier between us and the world as we possibly can. That's going to cause some problems for you health-wise as well, because as Dr. Bessel van der Kolk says, that the body keeps the score. That's the title of his book. And when you adopt certain postures or take certain things into your body, then you're going to end up having a problem health-wise. So everything emotional is going to show up in your body health-wise. You need to deal with yourself as a whole ecosystem. If you throw a pill at it, that is not going to fix it. You need to actually deal with the emotions, because you cannot heal what you will not feel. You have to feel the feelings. So this roar thing is where you take your shoulders, you put them back, and you actually from your belly bring up this roar, which I'm not going to do because it would be too loud. But it's basically, if you take your arms like this, it also helps expand your chest. And you just kind of put your arms up and you just roar as loud as you possibly can. And it's amazing, even that little bit. Yes, thank you, Rhonda. This way that I did it just now gave me goosebumps, because it moves the energy through you. It changes the energy. So it's a power position to be able to put yourself in. So do that. You've got a meeting that you have to go to, something that maybe you're feeling a little bit intimidated by. Do this as an exercise. Just put your shoulders back, put your arms up, and roar from your belly, not in your throat, from your belly, and just roar like you're a lion. And it's amazing how that will change your energy the way you feel. Now, I'm an energy therapist. I help people move the energy through their bodies. Why do I do that? Because when we have a trauma, it gets trapped in our body, and it's, it can end up being like the shape of a grapefruit. It can be some large lump. So have you ever tried to talk to somebody and you can't because you feel like you've got a grapefruit in your throat right there? That is trapped energy, which is usually an emotional thing. It's usually, so the throat is the area where you speak your truth. And if you are having difficulty speaking to somebody, or you're having difficulty saying something, it's because you're not speaking your truth. Some part of your experience in life, you're not telling people what your truth is. You're not standing up. Maybe you're saying, oh, I'd love to do that for you, when the back of your head is going, oh, another thing I have to take on. I just don't have the time or the energy to do this. But what comes out of your mouth is, oh, sure, I'd love to do that. And so you're not being honest with yourself or anybody else. And your truth is stuck in your throat. That's one of the reasons we have that. When you go through a trauma, one of the first things that happens is you end up with gut issues. You end up with your hormones will just totally go off the charts, totally wacky, because you're not dealing with the emotional stuff that's going on. And so that's really important. So why do I talk about ROAR? Well, these are 4 steps that I have discovered will make all the difference in the world to how your life goes. And the first one is resilience. Well, we think of resilience as the capacity to bounce back from something. When we've had something that's been traumatic that's happened in our lives, we think, okay, resilience means that I can get back up and dust myself off and keep going. That's only part of it. And I'll talk more about that because that's the part that has to do with the heart. And the second part is the O, optimism. If you face your day with, oh, I wonder what's going to happen to me today, or it's something like, nothing ever goes well for me, or life doesn't have to be this hard. Why is life always this hard? If we're always talking about these negative things, that's not optimistic. And it really, what goes around comes around. You throw out negativity, it's going to come back to you. And that is a fact of the universe. It really truly works that way. You get what you're looking for. And so if you're looking for, which is a natural thing, it's natural for us to look for the negative, because that's how we have survived as a species for all of these, eons, is because we step out the door and we look for all the things that might kill us. We're looking for all the danger out there. You have to train yourself to look for good things. So maybe you step out and the first thing you think is like, oh no, is there a car coming? Am I going to get run over? Is there wildfire today? Because you can see I've got lots of trees back there. Or what's going to be dangerous for me today? Instead of thinking that way, believe that the world or the universe is out to do you good. Not you're out to get screwed, but the universe is out to do you good. And that's a shift in your belief system. When you believe that everything is conspiring together for your good. Everything is trying to put it so that it lines up perfectly so that it will be good for you. If you can believe that, that makes a tremendous difference. And then there's the A, which is accountability. And accountability is a really hard one for a lot of people. For a long time, it was hard for me too, because it was so much more fun, so much easier to blame everybody else for whatever was wrong in my life. It's like, well, I'm acting this way because my parents did this, or I can't do that because somebody else is not allowing me to, or, well, I can't go for that job because, so can't is a powerless word. It's a victim word, can't, because that's not true. You can do anything that you want to do. And you always have more options than you think you have. But the thing is, it's whether or not those options are acceptable to you. And this is something that my mentor, Jack Canfield, who I have worked with for 9 years now. One of the things that he worked with me personally with, because at the time I was taking care of my mother and she had Alzheimer's, and I didn't have a really good relationship with her anyway. And so I was just feeling this overwhelming burden of caring for her. And I was talking to Jack, and he said, well, then don't take care of her. And I go, well, I have to take care of her. I have to. I can't, what am I going to do? Am I going to just ignore her? I have to do this. So there's the compulsion of feeling that I have no choice. I have to. And when we get to the point where we feel like we have no choice in a matter, then that makes us powerless. We can't find a way out because we're being compelled or forced or whatever to do this thing. And so he said, no, you don't. And I go, yeah, if I don't take care of her, who's going to take care of her? He said, okay, go to the bank and set up a trust fund for her and have them disperse enough money each month to care for her needs. And I'm going, oh my goodness, I had no idea. I had no idea that I could do that. And all of a sudden, then I felt free because I didn't have to take care of my mother. I was choosing to take care of my mother because this other option was not acceptable to me. And so when you look at your choices, you go, I can't do that. It's like, yeah, you can. As I could step out of an airplane without well, even with a parachute, I'm not sure I would. I could do that. I could step out of an airplane without a parachute if I wanted to. I won't do that. It's not that I can't do it, it's that I won't do it. So when you have the accountability, whether you will do something or you won't do something, and you accept that you've chosen to treat somebody this way, it's not when you say, I did it because, that is not true. And that is a statement that gives your power away, and it's a lie. You didn't do it because somebody else did something. So it could be, well, I treated you that way because you. That's even worse. So it could be, I did that thing because everybody else was doing it and I felt social pressure, and so I had to go do it. I didn't have a choice. Yeah, you did. You had a choice. But it's when you get to the point of where I did it because I cheated on you because you were cranky with me. It's like, what? Accept 100% responsibility for your beliefs, for your behaviors, and for your thoughts. And those are the only things that you can control. You can't control anybody else's beliefs. You can't control anybody else's behaviors, and you can't control anybody else's thoughts. You can only control yours. So that's what you accept 100% responsibility for. That's where your power is. That's how you get to the opportunity to design your life, to choose what you want to do with it, to decide whether or not you want to continue sitting in a puddle and being really cranky for the rest of your life, or if you want to say, hey, this isn't who I am, and this is not how I want to be remembered, and I want to make something out of my life, and you move on. So a little bit to look about this is I went through a betrayal that totally, totally destroyed my life. I've never been, I mean, like I told you, my childhood was not fun. And I thought that I had gone through everything that I could possibly go through, but I was married to someone for almost 25 years that I absolutely adored and thought walked on water. And I thought we had the best relationship, and everybody else thought we had the best relationship, but he betrayed me. And that wiped me out. I was just totally destroyed after that. I had just written a book, which is an international bestseller, called Suffering is Optional, Step Out of Darkness into the Light. I'd just written that book and dedicated that book to my husband, who was so incredibly helpful and everything else, and 5 months later betrayed me. That's the one thing about my book. When I look it up, when I open it up, it's like, I wish you had known, but I didn't. So when, I really, really, really struggled with that. And it was during the aftermath of that betrayal when I was scraping the bottom of the barrel. I was discovering that there was a basement to the lower level of, rock bottom. There's a basement down there. It was not a fun place for me to be. During that time, I created this program during that time, I gave my TEDx talk. So I'm standing on stage giving this talk about resilience, optimism, accountability, and resourcefulness when my heart was broken into 7 zillion pieces. But I knew that I was the only one that could heal me, and I was the only one who could move on with my life. And so that's what I did. The last one is resourcefulness. Again, believe that the universe is out to do you good. And when you do that, there's something called the reticular activating system. It's part of everybody. We all have it. It's where you focus on something that you want, a direction that you want to go, and your brain starts looking for it, starts looking for opportunities. So remember that car that you wanted to buy, maybe that, or maybe a dress or a pair of slacks or something like that. You thought it was unique. You thought it was wonderful. You went out and you bought it. You go and you're out in public, and guess what? There's 5 other people wearing the same thing because now you're aware of it. So it's the brain that gets what you focus on. If you focus on pain and all the things that you quote can't do, and how your life is miserable and it will never get any better for you, if that's what you focus on, that's what you're going to get, because the brain is going, oh, she wants more pain. Okay, let's go get more pain. And that's what you end up with. So focus on a good thing that you want, like a loving relationship, like somebody who honors you, who is respectful, who is is honest, who will accept 100% responsibility for their own behaviors. So you can have 2 adults working together. So now we're going to kind of go back to the resilience part, which is the heart part that Rhonda wanted us to talk about. So there is a company called Heart Math Institute that is in Boulder Creek, California. And they've been studying the heart for roughly, I don't know, it's probably about 30 years now. And you kind of, when you get there, you kind of get the vibe of like, I wonder if this is kind of like a hippie commune, like maybe it started out that way or something, because it's in the middle of the gorgeous redwoods in California. And it's a beautiful place to be. And the people there are all like totally laid back. And so you kind of go, this is a research facility. But yes, it is. They've got scientific research that they've been doing on the heart for, as I said, approximately 30 years. They did all of their research. Their research got published in journals, other places with bigger names that you might recognize, like the Mayo Clinic, like Baylor University in Texas, like the US Navy, places like that that you may have heard of. They began doing their research too, because their research was compelling. It was like, okay, these people say that the heart is the center of inspiration, and that it also is the center of resilience. The heart is, not the brain, the heart is. And so some of the studies that they have done, these other people have done, verify all of the information that HeartMath has come up with. So there's at the time that I studied HeartMath, there were 200 peer-reviewed journals, but that was several years ago. So I know that there are more. So what about the heart is so special and so important? Well, the heart is, as I said, the center of your inspiration. It's where you get, it's like you think these thoughts are coming in, it's about, I ought to do this. It's the ones that are kind of the subtle ones, the ones that come in and go, I think this would be a good direction for me to go. This would be a good thing for me to do. The studies that they've done in the heart show that your heart is able to recognize danger, love, peace, all these other things before the rest of your body gets it. Your heart catches it first. So they had a test that they did where they had monitors on the brain to test brain activity and monitors around the heart. And the participants would sit in front of a computer, and every 4 seconds or so, a picture would pop up, pop, 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 and either the brain or the heart would respond. Then they discovered something really fascinating. The heart would react before the picture came up. So just maybe a second before the picture came up, the heart already knew what was coming. So there were things in there like, cute fluffy bunnies, little otters, there are those things that make you go, oh, that's so sweet. And then there were some really gruesome pictures, the ones that were just horrifying. The heart always knew before the brain did. The heart registered it first. So your heart knows what's going on before your brain does. Well, what do you do after you've been hurt? You shut your heart down because you don't want to be hurt anymore. But if you shut your heart down, you also shut down all the information that your body is trying to give you. So we've got the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic is the reptilian brain. It comes from the back of your brain. It's the brainstem basically, and it comes down your body through the spinal cord. It gives all the information from your brain to your body. And then the other one, the parasympathetic nervous system, comes from the body and goes to the brain. All the information. So we talk about, I have butterflies in my stomach. No, you don't. But you know what that feels like. I have a frog in my throat. No, you don't. But you know what that feels like. I feel like I got punched in the gut. No, you didn't. But you know what that feels like, because that's body information. But the thing is that so 100% of the information comes from the body and goes to the brain, but 80% of it stops at the heart first to be interpreted by the heart. So there's 20% that'll filter up to the brain without bothering to involve the heart. And those are usually bodily function kind of things. But the heart has to translate that information first. So 80% of that. So why is that important? You need to know that your resilience comes from your heart. It comes from you taking care of yourself. It comes from you breathing. It comes from you taking the time out that you need to heal. It comes from actually being in touch with your heart. So how do you do that? Breathe. Nobody ever dies breathing in. Breathe. Breathe deeply, slower than you're used to, into your belly. Breathe through your heart. Now, obviously, your heart doesn't have lungs, so how do you do that? I visualize that my heart has gills so that it can breathe. But put your hand on your heart and breathe. Breathe deeply. 5 in, 5 out. Slower than you normally do. And when you've got your hand on your heart, think of someone or something, like maybe a pet or something, that you really deeply appreciate. I have a client that chooses his dog because his dog has never betrayed him. So he loves and appreciates his dog. So you activate that feeling. So you actually feel it. It's not an intellectual thing. It's an actual feeling. Activate that. Sit in it. Let it flood your body. And then when you feel filled with love, send it out to other people, to other things. And that's how you deal with your heart. That will build your resilience if you do that practice for 5 to 15 minutes every single day. And that's what I recommend that you do. So I don't know if you want me to keep going, Rhonda. I don't know if you have any questions.
Oh, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm feeling so good. I did not know, Michelle, about that study that you are sharing right now, and how the heart can feel it, feel it like it's like this intuition. Like the heart is so wise, and now you're sharing that it's all in the research.
Yes.
I feel like that's how I hear so many people speaking about the heart, but to be able to listen to you and your expertise and studying and learning about this, first with the resilience model and being able to layer that in with the heart math and being able to express in that area, like how that works, because we keep thinking sometimes, this is what I was doing years ago, is I just worked myself until my body hurt.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I worked really hard, perfect, you know.
Mhm.
And then with understanding that I was so full in closing off my heart. We in my family we have heart attacks, and I think we feel it in our heart, or we close it off, and there's these things that doesn't exercise it and let that flow happen. And so this is what's happening in my family. So I'd override, I guess, Michelle,
Mhm.
if I'm understanding, and I'd let my brain, do these things like perfect, and it would just keep, my brain, because I can partner with my brain with the heart.
Mhm.
That's what I'm hearing. What's great about this, but leading with the heart, which it feels so foo-fooey these days if we don't really get into what really the research is doing too. And Monique is here, and she says yes, and she has like 3 targets there in our group. She says thank you, Monique. I'm so excited that you're here. This is a woman that I'm getting to know more and more over the years as I see her out doing her stuff too. My question for you is learning about the heart math and understanding the resilience model. And you brought up a really good story, and why I want to bring that story back up is that I believe our community is just like everybody else we know. There's things that have happened in our life, and we are trying to feel how to start releasing that, how we can use the resilience model. But you are a very good example right here. When you found out what was going on in your relationship and you look at what you've been learning along the way, what were the first steps of information you were carrying at that time that really helped nurture you so that you could start healing from something where you thought was working so eloquently and people outside of your relationship felt the same way you did, which was, wow, this looks like a really good relationship. How could something like that happen? What were some of the steps that you did to help our community too in their scenarios of different things, to be able to transition and know that you're okay, your heart's going to be okay, you're going to keep your heart open?
Mhm. Okay, so prior to this betrayal, something else had happened, and with when this betrayal happened, I had this history of knowing what would happen if I shut my heart down. I left my heart open for the entire time during the excruciating pain that I went through this betrayal, because I had already once before done something specific in order to try to control my emotions. At the time, I was a single mom with 3 children. I was trying to support them. I was doing everything that I possibly could. I had gotten into a relationship with a man that I thought was going to go somewhere. And he just abruptly, like after we had made the commitment to one another, then he abruptly changed his mind. And I was grief stricken because I thought maybe he was, the answer to my prayers, I guess. Um, but I had this problem. I couldn't actually grieve because I hadn't introduced him to my children. I had at least had enough smarts to keep them separate. But I had to function for my children. I had to, in my mind, and that's again, this is a compulsion kind of a thing. I have to be super mom. I have to be the super employee. I have to have it all together. I can't fall apart. I have to just keep it all together. So I remember sitting down and actually consciously doing this. It's like, this hurts. My heart hurts. I don't want to feel this hurt. I can't feel this hurt and function at the same time. So I'm going to split my heart in two. So I did that. It was an energetic kind of a thing. Obviously, I did not split my heart in two, but I visualized it. I visualized that I tore my heart in half and I put half of my heart inside a box. And this box was steel lined. Um, it had like huge bands and big locks and all these other things. And then because I didn't want to feel that pain, but I still wanted to have part of my heart for my children and to do my other thing, so I left that part there. But this other part that was hurting so bad, I put it inside this box kind of a thing. And then I visualized throwing the key away. Well, that worked for years. Actually, I think it was like 4 or 5 years or something like that, when I began to realize that I wasn't feeling anything. I wasn't feeling the pain, but I wasn't feeling anything. So I could go through the motions of giving my children affection, but it didn't feel the same way that it felt before, because my heart was only half a heart, and the half that I'd left for my kids was busy doing all these other things as well. And again, this is all energetic, but that's all we are, is energy. So you have to understand that this is a very real thing. Well, now I'm kind of going like, oh, I know what happened, is that it was because I split my heart, and it's been long enough, it's been 5 years or whatever. So I can reintegrate my heart. I'm fine. I can do that. And I tried, truly I tried, except for one thing. I threw the key away and I didn't know where it was. And so my heart stayed locked in this box because I couldn't figure out how to get into the box because I'd made it indestructible. And that's where my heart was. So I went to a coach, and this coach was a brilliant woman, and she helped me create a new thing. She said, well, what could you do? How could you? I said, I don't want to open that box all at once. If I open it all at once, I'm going to be completely overwhelmed and I can't deal with all that. And so she said, well, what could you do to let out a little bit at a time? She said, what if you were to put like a water spigot on that box and just kind of open it up and let out what you have the power to let out, and then close it off when you can't deal with it anymore. And I'm going, oh, I can do that. I know how to do plumbing. So I visualized, again, I sat down, I visualized my box, and I put on a spigot so that I could open those things up. Eventually, I opened it up, I healed all of that stuff, and I was able to kind of let my entire heart squiggle out through that thing that I had opened up, and I could put my heart back together again. What I had to do is I had to visualize actually putting my heart together, sealing it back up again so that it could function as a huge thing all by itself. And when I did that, I was able to actually feel again. So it's really important, like Brene Brown, I adore Brene Brown. She says that you can't choose which emotions to shut off, because if you shut off one part of them, they all will shut off. And that's really important for us to realize, that you've got to be in touch with that. So after my betrayal, what I did is I practiced. During the time of my betrayal is when I learned HeartMath. I went because I sought after everything that I could to heal my heart, to keep it open, because I didn't want to shut it off again. I didn't want to have, I felt like a zombie without my heart functioning properly. And I wanted to have that love and connection with other people. I wanted to be able to make friends. I wanted to find somebody else to love. I wanted to have a relationship. And so I wanted to make sure that I kept my heart open. So what I did was I practiced 15 minutes every single day, and I would put my timer on, and I put the timer on and I made it go, of sitting, breathing deeply with my hand on my heart, and visualizing what the thing that brought me the most gratitude and appreciation. For me personally, every single person in my family, I think, has betrayed me at some point, because we all are either a betrayer or betrayed. I mean, even those of us who have been betrayed have at some point been a betrayer. We all do it. It's I guess, a side effect of being human. And so just, you get to the point where you learn from them, hopefully, and you don't do them again. So you learn how you're hurting people, and you stop hurting people in that way because you're doing your own healing. So, excuse me, hang on a second.
Oh, I'm loving this stuff, Michelle. This is wonderful.
Thank you. So I delivered my grandson. I actually delivered most of my grandchildren. And one of them, my daughter, had a home birth. And so in my bed, because it was the biggest one, and we were able to have more room to move around. My daughter was in labor, and she gave birth to this beautiful, beautiful child. I was the first person he saw. His eyes were open when he was born, and he was staring right at me. So I had that connection with him. Then I handed him over to his grandfather, which oddly enough is the man who betrayed me. But I have this beautiful picture of the two of them smiling at each other. And my grandson is just minutes old. And so a lot of times people say, oh, you know, children with babies, when they're born, they can't smile. It's like, really? Have you ever smiled because you're having gas pains? I don't think so. So the child is, you know, the baby was smiling at his grandpa, and the two of them, the picture is just a precious picture. And so you would think that I wouldn't want to look at that picture because that picture is too painful because grandpa's in it. And it's like, no, because that was a sacred day. And because the look that they have for one another is pure love. And that is what I tap into when I can't find anybody else or anything to be appreciative of. So it's got to be an emotion that you can actually feel. It can't be one that you think. It's like, oh yeah, I remember I felt really gratitude and it can't be like that. It's got to be something that you can actually feel. And I spent, oh, I don't know, probably a year practicing this heart math, practicing becoming more resilient. Because when you take the time to do that, it makes it so that, well, it does all sorts of amazing things. So the Navy SEALs, you know, they're a big deal. And they go on these really scary missions that we don't know about. But what they do is before every mission that they go out on, they spend time to do, which is called a heart lock-in. And they do this breathing and this appreciation for every person that's in their group. And they say the reason that they do that is because it activates their spidey senses. And so it makes it so that they are in tune and in touch with one another, and they're able to tell when danger is out there, even if they can't see it. And they're able to, they look out for each other's back. They take care of each other. And that's how they do this. And this is what they've been doing. It's like, wow, it seems like such an easy thing to do. And because it's so easy, many people won't do it. It's like, oh, that doesn't do a darn thing. What are you doing? You're breathing and you're appreciating or having gratitude for someone. Well, gratitude is the highest vibration emotion that we have. It is, there's a study that they did to discover this, you know, which is the highest vibration emotion. There was a man who was a prisoner, and he'd been in prison for a very long time. And he was a sex, I mean, he was in there because of sex crimes that he had committed. And as he was dying, what they did is they had him hooked up to these machines, and they were using him for testing, but they wanted to know about emotions. And so they had what are they, an oscilloscope, or anyway, some way to meter, some way to test to see the strength of the energy that came out of certain emotions. And so they had the nurse go in there and flirt with this guy. And so she flirted with him for a while, and, you know, he's really into this. He's really excited about this. He's on his deathbed, literally. But then she turned against him and started to reject his advances. And he actually died cursing God, cursing the universe, cursing the nurse, cursing everybody. And the meter that was testing was way down in the negative. And it was like so far down there that it was like laying on top of the pin that keeps it from going any further. And then on the other hand, they went and they were monitoring a woman who was dying. And this woman was praising God. She was saying prayers. She was expressing for all of the things that had ever happened in her life that she was grateful for. And as she was doing this, the researchers just had tears streaming down their faces as they're participating in this with this woman. And they kept hearing this clicking noise, and they couldn't figure out what that was. And what it was is that the gratitude that she was expressing was trying to go beyond so it was actually more than could be measured, but it kept clicking against that pin. It kept trying to go further down and further higher on the scale. So we know that gratitude, appreciation, love, those things are the highest vibration emotions. And when you take those vibrating emotions into your heart, into your daily activities, I mean, like when you wake up in the morning, do you start grumbling about how your legs aren't working right? You've got this pain in your back and your neck hurts and you've got a headache. I mean, do you start griping the second your feet hit the floor or your eyes open up? Or do you start expressing gratitude for, oh, thank goodness I have another day. I'm so grateful that I'm breathing one more day. I'm so grateful that, wow, today it's raining. Isn't that wonderful? We need rain. Or look at that sunshine. It's gorgeous. I'm so grateful that I have my eyesight. I'm so grateful that all of my bodily functions do what they're supposed to do. I'm so grateful that my heart is beating this morning. Which way do you wake up with? Do you wake up with a negative attitude, expecting everything's going to go really crappy for you? Or do you wake up with the gratitude? I'm so grateful for all of this. And that's how you build your resilience. That's how you build your capacity to bounce back from traumatic things that happen in your life. So if you look at resilience as a battery, 99.9% of us are running on empty because we don't take the time necessary to rebuild that resilience. And a lot of us think, excuse me, we think, oh, I'll go get my nails done. That'll help. Well, maybe, but maybe not, because then you got to pay for it. So, what kind of things can you do that will actually just fill you? So go for a walk. Nature is the most powerful antidepressant. Go out and breathe, because again, it's that breathing. You're breathing the natural ions out in nature. You're breathing that nitrogen, the oxygen, all of those things that we need to be able to be strong and to be resilient. So do those things. Don't make excuses for them. It's like, oh, I feel really crummy. I don't want to go for a walk. Then go for a walk. You need to do that. It's how you're going to feel better.
Oh, Michelle, this is such great information. I'm going to come back and take some notes on this because I can feel it. Like there's so much that I've been learning about myself and running this show and the Fresh Inspiration Show. Watching these shows, watching what Michelle is speaking about right now, how is that showing up for you today? How does that take you to the next level of knowing that the safer space starts happening when you keep that heart open, but really learning more about the detail of the heart math and the resilience model, which I love.
Yeah.
So you really served. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm not perfect at it. I'm still not perfect at it. I still have, I still have things that happen. I mean, crap still happens to me, and I have to still deal with it. So
Yeah.
sometimes, even to the point of where, okay, this works. Just go breathe. It's like, I don't want to breathe. It's like, what a stupid thing is that?
Yeah.
You have to breathe anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like, give some time for yourself and go to your heart and let's talk about that, because we're human, huh, Michelle? Like, so what you're speaking about here really is that you're right. You're speaking to it and you're speaking as an expert because you know it. You have the tools, but it doesn't mean that you are like superhuman, that you just all of a sudden don't scathe anything that's going on in this world. And we get challenged, which helps us get to that next level, which all truly is good. So I love, beautiful. Thank you so much. Michelle, as I'm getting to know you more and more, where's the best place for people to connect? I've already tagged you, and so they can just click and find you in social media, but is there a spot that you would like them to go to connect with you, get to know you?
Sure. I have a website, which is isoulshift.com. You can email me at Michelle with 2 L's at isoulshift.com. And it is a soul shift. And that's the reason that I chose that, is because, and it's I soul shift because it's an affirmation. I'm going to do this. This is what I do. I soul shift. Because when you do have a lot of negative things that have happened, a lot of really painful things that happen, it's easy to go down the rabbit hole of feeling sorry for yourself, of believing that nothing good is ever going to happen to you. But if you have that shift, because it is inside you, it's not out there. Happiness is not out there. Happiness is in here. And you've seen people, and you know people, I know you do, that you look at their circumstances and you think, how can you be happy in circumstances like that? Maybe, maybe you're living in a less than wonderful apartment, and yet you're happy. How does that happen? And it's because they know that the happiness is inside. It's not out there. And we have a tendency to engage in relationships looking for happiness. It's like, I'm going to call up Rhonda because she's going to make me feel better. Well, I enjoy talking to Rhonda, and she's not the one that makes me feel better, though. It's because I can tap into your spirit. I can tap into your enthusiasm, which means God within, by the way. I can tap into the things that you can share with me, and I can feel good about that for a little while. But unless I actually take that inside and put it inside my heart area, unless I do that, it's not going to make any difference. So I can call you up another day and I can go, Rhonda, I'm feeling really awful. Can you do that for me again? And you can do it for me again. You give me this wonderful stuff. But if I don't take it in, if I don't open my heart, if I don't let it inside there, and so it can live there, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, earlier I was talking about receiving. That's a hard one.
Mhm.
There's so many. When you, whatever it is in your background and whatever the stuff that you've dealt with. So I love that you talked about the resilience model, because it gave those steps of looking at different scenarios and where we get stuck, and then how to look at it in different layers, and then adding in the heart math and the knowing that that when somebody was flirting with somebody, which is, we all love to have great conversation, and how that frequency, that energy really opens up the heart, and that give and the Fresh Inspiration Show. I don't know how you feel about this one, but I started thinking about just in my family past, like the generational stuff, what we're trying to heal from.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, the work that I've been doing, this is what, like the heart and mouth, I was able to partner with the information. So I
Mhm.
grew so much by just listening to our discussion today together. And then I was like, here, wait, but I was doing these things that were telling me to close my heart, which I bet out in the community. Do you know people like that? Are you dealing with that where you're like, I'm gonna close my heart off and I'll open it up when it's safe, but you start realizing the safety really is that you're listening and flowing that, because that's where a lot of the wise space is, and knowing even before the cerebral is telling you something. Sometimes it takes a while to get it in the head of like what's going on, but your heart is already ready to take that action. And it was
Mhm.
helping me understand about my family and how to love on my family and understand more about what we're dealing with, because I have kids that are 16 and 18. So if I keep going this route and be able to be a guide and not tell them they have to do this or that, but guiding with love and accountability and those kind of discussions, that I feel like I'm a better parent than I was, years ago. And it just gets better and better because we're taking the tools that you're talking about and the tools that we've brought in for the different people that we had as as the stars of the show today and past shows over the past 5 years, that you really nailed it, Michelle. I haven't had somebody in here be able to talk about the heart unless it was an intuitive way, because I have a lot of spiritual beings talking about that. But the heart mouth, what it does is it already, like, if you feel that, you're like, yeah, just, yeah, that's why it happens. But when you have somebody like you that came in today, just talk about logical stuff around it. And
Mhm.
that, yeah, this stuff was found, but it starts feeling logical. So we get to partner with that information, or we get to learn more about the heart math. Make sure you go out there and connect with Michelle, because we what we're learning is the stuff that you have learned throughout the years, you're bringing forward. So instead of just speaking to resilience, you brought in the different layers of stuff that you've learned, what you've invested in. And so hearing you speak, it's not just that you're talking at somebody, but you're talking from the heart and you're explaining things from not just one expert that you learned from, but different experts, and how you have challenged yourself in different coaching programs or different classes to be able to learn more about this. And as a coach yourself and helping people make decisions that sometimes there are big things right in front of them, and they are learning now from what you said. You got to new people saying, if you go with the heart, you're going to be able to make quicker, better decisions. And so you really nailed it. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. We are taught to look at things logically from the time that we're children. You know, we're taught to, you know, think. Sometimes people would just say that, oh, use your head, think.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's not the appropriate action. Sometimes you should use your heart and see what your heart says first. And then you can, you know, it's important that the heart and the brain do work together. Obviously, there are times when logistically you do have to, you know, do what your brain tells you if it's necessary. We each have their different function, but the heart actually is the seat of intuition. That's where, so, you know, those people that come on in your show and talk about intuition and all of that stuff, that in the heart, that is where it is. And there's scientific research that proves that. So it's important that you reconnect with your heart, so that when you do have these big decisions come up, the ones that are all of a sudden at your feet and you have to do something with, like right now, it's important that you've already got this connection with your heart, so that you can see the first thing that you might do is like, oh, what am I going to do? You're thinking in your head. And as you go, wait, hang on a second, take a deep breath and check your body out. What does your body say that you ought to do about it? Yeah. So get back into your body. Most people live from here to here. That's where their life is. And they make decisions from there. They interact with people from there. And that's where the ego lives. The ego lives between your ears. And the ego is all about you. It's all about radio you. It's like, I'm listening to myself and I'm ignoring everybody else. You get back into the body, then you're going to be a much nicer person to be around, for one thing. But you're also going to be able to have this unconscious communication that's going on between your body and the other person's body. Mm-hmm. You know that, you felt it. We call them vibes. Yes. And so we know those things, they work. Pay close attention to them. When you live from the heart, you will live longer, you'll live happier, and the rest of the world will be much happier too.
I love it, Michelle. There we go. Michelle Nagel, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you very much, Rhonda.
So the Fresh Inspiration Show. Thank you, Michelle. We have been talking about Hello Self, Awaken Your Truth. We've had 5 experts here. Counting myself, I got an opportunity to spend time with you today, an hour, talking about the freedom, the safety, and the healing, and how you get there, and the steps. And we talked about that, and I enjoyed myself. It's so much fun to share these creative things as I'm going through my journey, as I got an opportunity to share with you about my friend passing away, and my best friend, somebody who I was able to really speak with and really tell her the truth. We got to partner with so many people. So we started with Jill. Jill was bringing in her drum, her bowls, her vocals, opened up the show to really help open and receive, as she was asking, you know, what is in these layers of Hello Self, Awaken Your Truth? And so it gave you opportunity to start recognizing some things. But she took us there. Then we had Noreen Howard. Now I'm stumbling because Noreen is kind of new in my sphere, but I wanted her here for 15 minutes because I was like, the way that we could talk about like what's happening out there in the world. And she did a lovely job because she was speaking to heart and how we show up and how that the stuff that's out there in the world and how that affects us. We got in great conversation about that. That was our opening ceremony. Then we had Lorenzo Payman. Lorenzo's still here hanging out with us, and he has other things he's doing, so he has not been in focal point during our call, but he has been here watching and listening as much as he can. And he was here for an hour, and we were talking about like easy organic reach through the heart with the heart. And he spoke about that. And did you love that he was talking about? I've talked to this many people. It wasn't in the thousands, it wasn't in the the stats that we try and look for, like, oh my gosh, is it this or that? Because that's the only way we're going to be able to change this world or grow our business or whatever things you're trying to do. He really got in there and started talking about the truth of what we're really doing here. And that all was, or that whole organic build, I loved it. Then you got to listen to Rhonda Lou Moxie. Here I was really encompassing heart vitality and energetically talking about when you show up in that heart sense, how you really can have what you want. And it doesn't come from here where you're asking for bigger things that maybe you really don't want. Like that Ferrari. Well, yeah, it'd be fun, but I mean, the stuff, the serious stuff, the stuff that means something to you, the stuff that you wake up in the middle of the night and you go, oh my gosh, my heart hurts because I'm not doing that. That. So I loved talking about this. Then we had Roar with Heart Math, and Michelle went there. She was talking about all these different things connected with the heart and connecting with the brain and how those work together and the logic of how those things work together, so that information, so important, so important. I tell you. So the Fresh Inspiration Show, another good 4 hour show this year, and we're going to be coming back in at the end of August, and I have a little calendar here. August 25th, we're going to be back with some more beautiful experts, and I want to show you what also we have. We have something new. It's the Heart Wisdom, and you can't read it very well because this is protecting the oil, but it's an essential oil, and it's around growing the heart. And it's yin yang in here, which is really good for being able to make those decisions. And what you want to do is you want to do a little spray, and then you want to walk into it and then breathe it in and let your hair and your body absorb that and your senses, because it's going to open up so much beautiful things. Connect with me if you would like one, and you also get rose quartz, which is about healing and in the love space and wisdom. So that's our. I just got that. I'm in celebration of that. You also want to come to us. I have a new speaker department that we are launching, and right now I have one scholarship for 1 month to be in our group, which is a 6 month coming together. But it's going to be rolling. People can come in anytime, but it would be like a 6 month thing. But you get 1 month. What would you do if you had somebody like me that's like a speaker agent? Somebody that's me, that I'm out there talking to people, swapping stages so that we get you speaking engagements. We talk about your story. We talk about what are the things that are stopping you. And we've been talking about this. We have blinders on. Why not come and play and build your speaker business? Get out there and speak. So you will want that form so you can fill it out, because right now I'm interviewing, and I've been doing this for 5 years. I am out there every day doing the marketing, which I don't even think it's marketing. I think it's playtime, and speaking to new people, hearing what's going on out there. I get to experience it too. But if you had somebody wise like that, that is their expertise and held that space for you as a speaker, how you move your hands, how you flow. And also there's mindset stuff we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about those things that stop you from really stepping in at the depths of where you want to go. You can feel that passion every day. So you'll want to get to know how to get into that form, fill it out, and that will be sent to me. And then we will look to see who we give that 1 month scholarship to. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us. Some great questions we had throughout the day from our community. We were going live on Be Connected and also Facebook. We're going to go out to podcast in a month. All the stars that you saw today, they're going to be re-invited back in so they can come in and when the podcast gets released. So I can't wait to hear from everybody to see who's going to be here in a month. We're going to be releasing that, and then we're also going to be going to YouTube. We're going to be going to Roku TV, and then we're also going to be going to TikTok. You're going to see everybody who's on here. My editor is going to pull the best, and we're going to have 1 to 2 minute of TikTok sizzles from everybody. So I love you. Keep reaching for what you're reaching for in your passion. We are here, the Fresh Inspiration Show, for you. I appreciate you so much. Love you. Have a fabulous day. Thank you for being with us.